Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Surrounded by Bourbon with me, Phil Crawford, aka Causeway Whiskey, and this is now episode 7. Today we are looking at this bottle, which is McAfee's Benchmark Old No. 8 brand. So this was actually a Seagram's brand from back in the 1960s. And back then, this was very much a luxury item. It was a premium bourbon, and it was simply known back then just as Benchmark Bourbon. That changed in 1989 whenever the Sazerac company bought the brand, and it was immediately demoted to being a bottom shelf product. And that is where you're commonly going to find a bottle of McAfee's bourbon these days. There's actually now 6 iterations of McAfee's, of which this is like the entry level of the core range, and this is really the entry level whiskey that you're going to find from the Buffalo Trace distillery in Frankfort in Kentucky. This cost only $11, I believe, off the top of my head. And it's kind of has another entry level brand called Ancient Age whiskey as well. It's kind of like a counterpart, slightly more expensive at $15 a bottle. But I kind of thought, rather than just going straight to Buffalo Trace, I may as well go and see what the entire brand portfolio has to offer. And so we're going right in at the bottom shelf with this McAfee's. So, as well as demoting Benchmark to being a bottom shelf brand, they also changed the name. As I referred to, Sazerac called it Benchmark, but now it is called McAfee's Benchmark. And that is really a nod to 4 brothers, James, Robert, George and Samuel McAfee, who apparently surveyed, I think it was 23 parcels of land around Frankfort between 1773 and 1775, and that is now the area of which the Buffalo Trace distillery resides. So, what's in the bottle? Well, it is Buffalo Trace's No. 1 mash bill, which we don't really know much about, but all we know is that contains 10% or less rye in the mash bill. It's aged for at least 36 months, and obviously a benchmark is a surveyor's term, so that refers to a reference point for topographical surveys. Benchmark also means a standard against which you may compare something, and so kind of courageously they have said on the side of the bottle here that this is the bourbon by which all others are measured. Well, we will see about that. Will we get into the notes then? I guess we will. So, let's go in for the nose here. And I'm going to say initially it's kind of closed, there's not a lot going on. I feel like a broken record. I feel like I'm saying this a lot about these entry level bourbons, but I think it is the proof, which I forgot to say. This is 80 proof or 40% ABV, so it's low alcohol, and that kind of translates in the nose because they're really like it's not giving off a lot here. So I think first things first, there is corn, sort of like cornbread. There's a mild oakiness to this. It's actually there's kind of like a cough medicine note going on here as well. Maybe a little cherry. And if you dig really deep, there's cinnamon baked apples. So, that's a fairly inoffensive nose. I mean, the good thing is the alcohol is pretty well integrated, so there's no off notes. There's no harsh ethanol on the nose, so that's kind of quite nice. Anyway, we'll go into the palate here and see how this coats the mouth and so on. So first things first. Again, it's kind of watery. It's a bit thin. It's kind of spicy as well, actually, which is surprising with the low rye. But I guess that's maybe just a little bit of a hint of the youthful alcohol going on there. So it's kind of oak and clove and pepper on their arrival. And there is a little hint of caramel there in the background, so we'll go in again and give this another go. Yeah, the clove is actually kind of quite prominent, and it's astringent. And then comes in caramel and a bit of vanilla. And this is where it kind of goes downwards a little bit. Do you know, like when you lick the back of a postage stamp and you have that glue note? So that is definitely there, which does detract a little from the overall experience. So, okay, we'll give it one more go. And now that I've said the glue, I can't really get that out of my head, but it's starting to become a little bit more herbal, more like pine resin. Still astringent though. It's definitely like the wood is quite dominant in this. Finish wise, this is pretty short. It just kind of goes over the palate and gone, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. There were those sort of herbaceous pine notes, the wood, the clove, and a little bit of caramel. That's what you're getting at the end. So would I recommend this, and what will I score it? So for $11, this is definitely not as bad as the Evan Williams. The nose, although being closed, is better than the palate. Once I get that kind of glue note, it's very hard for me to shift that. So that glue, and sometimes pine notes can be kind of good when they're balanced out, but this just seems to be like overtaking the palate a little. So yeah, it's a step above the Evan Williams, but it's not something that I would want to sip on a regular basis. It may do okay, not even may, this is firmly mixer material for me. This is something you're going to put in along with ice and coke or ginger ale and lime. This is not a sipping whiskey for me at all. So with that, I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10, which means that it is definitely a whiskey bore. Like I say, I mean, it's on the bottom shelf for a reason, guys, I guess. So yeah, this one's not for me. $11, not the worst buy if you just want something for mixing on a warm summer's evening. But again, guys, I think there are better whiskies out there for not much more money, like the Wild Turkey, like the Four Roses. So I would invest in those before I'd invest in this. Anyway, thank you very much again for watching the channel. Please like, subscribe, all that nice stuff. Leave a comment as well, because that all helps with the algorithm and hopefully get me noticed a little bit more. But until next time, have a great day with whatever you're doing, and I will see you again soon.